Economist Richard Baldwin had this quote: AI won't take your job, it's somebody using AI that will take your job. And to some degree, I believe that. I think it's maybe a bit overgeneralized because I think most people predict that there will be a major shift in employment and a major sea change in vast majorities of our economy and our workforce. So I don't want to overshadow the fact that that will probably happen. And the mental health impact of that is something that I believe we will have a large role in, whether we're career, mental health, school, etc. I think the role of AI in our economy, our workforce, we have to pay attention to. So as we think about this, how AI is going to play a role in our life or not, let's explore some basics around artificial intelligence. I think we use artificial intelligence in a way that's borders on meaningless right now because it's such a general term that we really don't know what we're talking about. And this took a long time for me to sort of wrap my mind around is like, what am I actually talking about when I use this term? So we look at artificial intelligence as the broadest definition of a discipline. And artificial intelligence is a discipline, and like all disciplines, it has its theory and methods to build machines that act and think like humans. So artificial intelligence is the broadest category. Machine learning is a subfield of AI, and this is a program or a system that trains a model from input data, makes useful predictions on new data, gives the computer the ability to learn without explicit programming. Then we have deep learning, which is a type of machine learning. It uses artificial neural networks to process more complex patterns, and generally this is either discriminative or generative. Discriminative is where it can really, the system can learn to identify, is it this thing or is it not this thing? So an example might be an image identification app that can say this is pizza or that is not pizza. Some of the apps that my family uses, there's an app now where it can listen to birds in the environment and then tell us it is this type of bird. So that's a discriminative deep learning system. Generative deep learning systems, also referred to as generative AI, is probably what's gotten most of our attention because it's moved beyond the ability to just identify this is something, this is not something, to actually create that thing. So it can create me an image of a pizza, an image of a bird, or a poem, or a picture, or anything else that perhaps our curiosity can dream up. So generative AI is a type of deep learning that generates new outputs based on the training data models that were involved in its creation. In many cases, these are large language models, meaning the data was text words, but they're also diffuser models that are underlying image generation tools, and there are models built on various audio and video technologies. So generative AI is multimodal in its training and its output. This is just some history of AI that, again, I used GPT-4o to help me create, and then I tried to fact check some of these components. And I think you all have probably heard of Alan Turing's Turing test, the kind of ability of can a person distinguish whether this was generated by human, generated by machine. And you can see that this term, artificial intelligence, has been around since the 50s. And in the early history of artificial intelligence, it seems like we were enamored with the ability of, can this technology beat us at games? Whether it was chess or Jeopardy or AlphaGo, these are games that AI systems have been trained to beat the world champions. In 2017, Google's lab published an article called Attention is All That You Need. And from what I understand, this was the publication that launched transformer models, a specific type of model, into the world. And that became the underlying technology for what we now know through most of the generative AI systems. Transformer models, as I understand it, was a model created to aid in the translation of text from one language to the next. And as it got good at that ability, I think we all know what happened. It can predict and help to generate much more text than just translations, even though that's a really nice use case. So in 2020, the fall of 2020, OpenAI released GPT-3, a state-of-the-art language model, as you all probably have been aware. AlphaFold was a DeepMind product that started to accurately predict protein structures, which started to see the benefits in biomedicine. 2023, ChatGPT passes various professional and academic tests. And now you sort of see each new model created by each company kind of tries to outpace and be the new foundation model that everything else is built on. So the state that we're in right now as this is being filmed is, companies, organizations, people are saying, should we build our own or should we buy something that already exists and put our wrapper around it? I think these foundational models of all the companies are becoming ubiquitous in their own software and in other people's software to the point that I don't even know that we're going to be able to tell, are we using AI or not? I think we're just going to be using it. There's been rapid advancements faster than most people have predicted. Enormous investments, like dollar amounts that blow my mind. And right now, as I'm recording this, the next iteration of generative AI technology called agentic AI, agents, AGENTIC, agentic AI is on the rise, giving AI systems a lot of access to our computer software, our information systems to perform autonomous tasks on our behalf. And I think there's been emergent properties. For a long time, we didn't want to anthropomorphize AI. We didn't want to say it could think, it could reason, it could have these human traits. But I think many people are starting to rethink that and wonder if it actually does have these emergent traits. So if AI has been around since the 1950s, what has changed recently that now it's the word that comes into everywhere? I think it was the evolution of power of the AI models that really got everybody's attention. We went from this phase of artificial narrow intelligence, ANI, where the technology could perform specific tasks with tight rules and constraints. So AI became an expert in one task, but it couldn't go any further. You think of old chatbots that had very canned text that it generated, picture identification tools, Netflix recommendations, email filtering, you name it. These are technologies that already existed, that are ubiquitous in our lives. And then generative AI came and had the ability to create new outputs with emergent characteristics. So AI became a creative expert in many mediums that can produce original material based on the summation of what it has observed, how it has been trained. These are things like ChatGPT, Gemini, DALL-E, Claude, Midjourney, any number of AI technologies that now exist. Agentic AI allows generative AI technologies to perform autonomous tasks, actions, make decisions on your behalf. So AI is becoming, I should say, a creative expert in many mediums that can achieve a desired outcome across many systems and can make decisions across those systems on your behalf. I believe Claude was the first, Claude, made by the company Anthropic, was the first to release an agentic demo to the public, and the rest are quickly coming. And by the time you're watching this, I'm sure that this will be ubiquitous as well. Then there's this thing called AGI, or powerful AI, depending on who you listen to. And this is maybe the goalpost that AI companies had, where they believed we wanted to get AI to a place that it could match or exceed human performance on a variety of tasks. So AI would become an expert in many tasks and can think, learn, and solve any problem across fields, across situations. The problem with this is it's hard to identify when has it got there. Many people would say it's already there. Some people would say we're 5 years away. I hear an analogy a lot of times of, can the AI act like a good graduate assistant, a good professor, or a good leading expert in a field? And many people would say that we're quickly progressing on that continuum. And, 2 years ago, I didn't hear people talk about super intelligence as much, but I do think we're there now where people are starting to say, we're getting to a place where we might redefine what it means to be intelligence. As humans, we've often placed ourselves at the center or the top of the evolutionary ladder. Um, when we talk about life, we talk about human life, and we might overlook the different types of life that exist in our ecosystem. So I think that at some time we are going to have some existential conversations and debates about what is life, what is intelligence, and I think this will move us beyond anthropomorphizing human traits to this thing to really start to ask the question of, what is this thing? What is life? What is intelligence? What is sentience? What are these things? And those will be left up for some very powerful debates that will require a lot of time to unpack. So what is generative AI? It's a type of AI, again, a type of deep learning model that creates new content based on what it has learned from existing content. This image here is something from I believe a New York Times piece. You can click on the link where it kind of just shows you the probability of these terms showing, or these tokens as they're called, pieces of text showing up in order. And it makes a prediction and it gives you the next token. So it uses that artificial neural network to predict the next token in a string based on the training data set. It's important to know that the next token can be wrong. It is often wrong, and that's called a hallucination. I wish they would have chose a different term, but they didn't. So anytime an AI system just totally makes things up, fabricates it, we would call that a hallucination. So some people would say that at its core, generative AI is just a pattern recognizer. It's a predictor. It's a creator of new content in some way. Some people would call it a word guessing machine. And as we mentioned, it's not just words. It's also can output images, video, etc. So maybe it's beyond more than just a pattern recognizer and word guesser. We may, so it can hallucinate and it can potentially deceive. There's some evidence of deception in responses of some of the models that have been released at the time of this recording. So we don't know. And I think we're continuing to try to understand what's happening under the hood of generative AI models. But it is built on multimodal input and it can generate multimodal output. So text is large language models are underneath text output. Diffusion models are underneath image output, audio output, video output, etc. And I think the newer models that are out at the time of this recording, we are starting to question, are there emergent properties, patterns, thinking, reasoning, higher order connections being made? Or is it still just predicting the next token in a string of words? Generative AI is now the base for new AI technologies like agents. So with generative AI technology, we will see new applications of that technology, and I'm certain there will be something that emerges after generative AI.